The ANC's Professionals League is expected to be officially launched soon. It's a move by the party to bring academics and professionals under the ANC banner. It wants professionals to leverage their skills to deliver the ANC program to the nation. ANC Professional League organizing member Dr. Bandile Hadebe joins us now. Good evening, sir. Thanks very much for your time. But let me perhaps say, we grew up thinking that academics and professionals are probably best placed outside of political parties so that they can, in part, play that role of being able to look at the programs and the projects of political parties and informed as they presumably are, they can then say, reflect to the nation as to what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't work.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you look at the formation of the ANC from 1912, the people who were crisscrossing the country, the Pixley's Gaseme, the Charlotte Matlages of the time, were professionals and academics who had graduated from abroad and had come to the country to try and drive this agenda for liberation. There were other internal individuals who were also highly educated. So the ANC has always been formed and driven by highly educated individuals.
Yes, the ANC benefited handsomely, but they didn't have to organize themselves into a formal structure of the movement.
I think the focus is that for the ANC to continue to be the leader of society, there needs to be a very direct conversation with the professionals now. If you see over the last 24 years odd, with the ANC having been in power, you've produced various layers of society that the party in its initial form is no longer engaging properly. And the necessity of a structure like the ANC Professionals League is then raised within that context. If you go to the resolutions of conference that we come out of in 2017 in Nasrec, the strategy and tactics documents of the ANC labors at length for the necessity to have a very organized, formal structure within the ANC that actually deals with this intelligentsia, that deals with academia, that deals with professionals. I think what I wanted to clarify from your opening is that there's an organizing, there's a grouping within the ANC that is formulated of these individuals that has submitted a series of documents to the Secretary General's office indicating their intent to launch this particular structure. So the current phase is fundamentally an engagement phase where understanding the internal party politics and internal party processes, this structure is not official until approved at the next conference. What we've pleaded for with the party and with the rest of the members that are commenting on this particular issue is that let us organize ourselves as professionals within the ANC. Let us organize ourselves as academics within the ANC. Let us test our value in the market within the ANC and within society. And at the next conference, if it's deemed that this structure actually hasn't assisted, or if it's deemed that this structure has assisted, then we would be lobbying the party to actually approve this structure. So this is not an officially approved structure yet. There are a series of steps that needs to be taken towards that approval. I mean, if you know how the approval of the Youth League was also followed, there were structures that were launched before that then led to the official approval at conference. The same with Women's League. There was a structure before that then was officially approved at conference. So what we're basically saying, though, is that with the African National Congress today in its current form and shape, there are fundamental issues of professionals that are not being discussed, that cannot be discussed at branches, because the nature of a branch is that it's more community-focused, and there are issues that are burning within the community that the BECs need to deal with. I sit in the BEC in my community, and ironically, it's a BEC that is made of a lot of professionals, but the issues that we discuss in that BEC are not issues of professionals, are issues of the community around us, things that we need to be doing to service the community around us. The professionals then get left completely unattended to. There's a series of examples that have necessitated this conversation internally within the ANC to have resolved as it has resolved in 2017. But those are the same reasons that we are now being burnt by, to say, for instance, there's a Professor Balui in Free State who, if you ask any structure today, who is discussing the matter of Professor Baloyi, who is being vilified by the entire College of Medicine for having assisted black graduates to navigate their studies better. Nobody is discussing that issue.
But why do you need proximity to the ANC to actually do that?
Well, these are individuals that are within the ANC. And this is their home, and this is where they find best accommodation to raise their issues.
Why don't just comrades just take up the issue without necessarily belonging to...
You have to be organized. You have to be organized to take up issues like that.
But I want to ask them, because you know, of course, that other constituent groups have tried this before, among them traditional leaders,
right?
For example. And they haven't really made significant headway, or at different times they would be sucked into, the at times divisive politics of the ANC, and as a result are unable to fulfill the very role that they would have set themselves out to fulfill.
I think if you look, that's probably one of the negative examples. But if you look at some of the great achievements around youth development, they fundamentally exist because there's a structure like a youth league that continuously advocates for youth issues. If you look around gender issues, albeit there's a lot more that's still to be done, some of the progress that has not been registered is because there's a very consolidated structure within the ANC as the governing party that is able to drive that agenda. Now, we have, over time, having opened the doors of learning, as the Freedom Charter had dictated us to, have created this layer of society that suddenly has very particular needs, and those needs are not being attended to. But not just their needs, they've got very particular skills that are not being harnessed to fulfill the agenda of the party and to fulfill the agenda of society. And what we're then saying is, let us organize this entity, give us space to organize this entity, give us time to test it in the market. If it delivers on what is good for the ANC and what is good for the party and what is good for society, then let's approve it at conference. But if it doesn't, let's also not approve it at conference. I think that's what we're saying. We are not wanting to take things that haven't worked with other people and superimpose them on professionals. But what we're recognizing is that there is, one, fundamentally a need for this conversation to be happening within the party. And I think the party itself has acknowledged that over a series of conversations, including the national conference that we're coming out of, that this is a necessary structure that we need to be driving. And all we're saying now is, what you have been discussing in vague terms, we want to put a name to it. We want to pilot it in the market, and we want to test it whether it works or whether it doesn't. And if it doesn't, we scrap it. And if it does, we then make it flourish.
Okay, Dr. Hadebe, thanks very much for your time. ANC Professionals League organizing member, Dr. Bandile Hadebe.